Ooh, what's good, Wizards fans? It's your host, the real Ed Oliver and Brandon Scott. Today we're going to talk about an article from Mark Stein talking about Jordan Poole and his future in DC. And of course, we're going to preview tomorrow night's game against the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, so there is an article, and it's your guy, the real Ed Oliver and Brandon Scott today, just recovering from a terrible, terrible loss, a typical Wes Unseld Jr. Give up a 20-point lead kind of loss, not having an inbounds play, not challenging anything, isolations. We didn't even score in the last 4 minutes of the game. We let Pascal Siakam do whatever he felt like doing. So just a typical Wes Unseld Jr. masterclass. But moving on from that, Jordan Poole, of course, has been a hot topic, all over the NBA for not the best reasons in the world. Mark Stein came out with an article. Mark Stein, who has a Substack, he said, this is the article. It says, Jordan Poole, not too long for the Wizards, ? Did the Washington Wizards trade for Jordan Poole to try to rebuild his trade value, to move him on in a future trade, or to make him a cornerstone player of their post-Bradley Beal future? My sense from speaking to various league observers is that more believe it is the former rather than the latter, with Poole in year one of a 4-year, $123 million contract. So, Brandon, what are your thoughts about that? Basically, saying Jordan Poole is not going to be here too long. What are your thoughts on Mark Stein's article?
Man, it's crazy how things change, right? I mean, 2 months ago, man, we thought this guy was going to be like the guy going forward. And now, but I guess it's easy to judge things on in hindsight, right? Looking at the trade from Golden State, at first you look at it as like, man, that's a good value move. We get a young guy who hasn't hit his prime yet, who is an electric scorer, but has those maturity issues, those red flags as far as the locker room. But now you look at it as like, why were they so freely giving away a young guy who hasn't hit his prime yet? So it kind of changes how you look at the trade a little bit. It's like, why are they so willing to give away a young player who has high upside? Because, I mean, now you start to see a lot of the locker room issues, a lot of maturity issues. I mean, we talked about that video where, he's not even paying attention in the middle of a timeout when Wes Unseld Jr. is trying to draw up a play. Some people think it's not a big deal. But, I mean, I think it's a big deal because if you're a franchise player and guys who are fighting for a roster spot are telling you to pay attention, that's a red flag, man. I mean, the maturity issues continue to show. He's joking around on the court, getting swatted, shooting very low percentage shots when he doesn't really need to. I mean, 2 seconds into the shot clock, he's already launching a three. I mean, it's just it's cartoonish a little bit, man. So the immaturity is showing. It is not just shown within the organization and our fan base. It's showing throughout the NBA. And a lot of the Golden State people are already coming out and say, look, told you so. So looking at that, looking at whether he could be a trade asset or a cornerstone, I kind of look at it like this. They're going to have to get him straight to boost his trade value up because right now he has none. Because nobody's willing to take on that contract and still have the deal with the immaturity. So we're going to have to work with him. The coach is going to have to work with him. Kuz, other leaders are going to have to step up, work with him. But even then, would you still trade him? Because if you're going to invest that amount of time into somebody and he does figure it out, you got to retain that because you've invested so much time into him. So I think he's a cornerstone. I think that he has way too much talent to be a bust. Yeah, the immaturity shows. This is not the first time we've dealt with immaturity, and then we got a guy go. John Wall, if you look at, man, he got a lot of criterism when he first came to Washington, coming out doing the Dougie. I didn't have a problem with the Dougie, but other people did. Him going to the Rose Bar. We've had our fair share of guys who've had, quote unquote, locker room issues or maturity issues. Agent Zero, electrifying personality. So I think we'll be all right. I mean, but he's got to figure it out. This is not Golden State. You can't be all Hollywood, man, when you're getting swatted on national TV. He's got to figure it out, man. So I'm looking at leadership. I'm looking at Wes Unseld to kind of rein him in. Because if Wes Unseld wants to be that coach going forward, he has to rein him in. You got to be able to control these type of personalities Because if we down the road start adding these moves, man, these players to make it a contender, you got to be able to deal with different personalities. So I want to see Wes Unseld kind of take charge. Kyle Kuzma, man, don't just be his buddy. Actually be a voice in his ear, like you're talking to Denny. Talk to him. Look, man, this ain't the right look. Trying to mentor him a little bit. So yeah, there's no move we can make because what team is going to touch that contract right now with those maturity issues? They're not. So it behooves the organization to get him right. And if we want to flip him, that's cool. But to me, he's young. He hasn't hit his prime yet. And if I'm going to invest time to get him right, then I want to be the organization that reaps the rewards. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, right now, it definitely is the former more than the latter. I think he will be moved. Probably not this season, but maybe next season. And I still want to be optimistic about him progressing and being a productive player. But I think we're just finding out that he may just be a really good six man instead of a cornerstone piece. I think he's a guy that can come in and score 20 points a game. Even though he struggled in every statistical category, his free throw percentage is going down to 76% as well. So he's just struggling all around. I mean, he had some good moments, the double spin move that he had against the Hornets, and they don't have a bad moment where he gets blocked or he has a jump turnover and just making a silly decision here and there. And then the bench video where Shamet tells him to look and Eugene tells him to look. So yeah, he's had some rough moments. The getting blocked by Porzingis and thrown off the backboard to Kuz. I mean, there's numerous things we can talk about that have definitely been some shock and a full moments for sure. So his trade value, like I said, is probably super, super low. I don't even think you can get a first round pick for him at this point. Nah. He's not having a good season so far, and defensively, he's never really been a good defender, and he's still struggling defensively for sure. So not a lot of positives. And as far as Wes probably isn't the guy to get him to lock in or focus, and unfortunately, he just needs somebody who can. And it really should just be him getting himself to focus and lock in, but he probably does need somebody, a tough coach and just a winning environment. I think for him, the best situation probably was where he was in Golden State, to really just come off the bench, come in and just score and play around a bunch of winners like Steph and Clay and Draymond. But of course, they may have just grown a little tired of some of his, going back and forth on the bench and just taking his shot selection and whatnot. So, but yeah, just to get back to the article, yeah, it looks like they value the article says once again trade for Jordan Poole to try to rebuild his trade value to move him on in a future trade or to make him a cornerstone. So yeah, I think it's leaning towards a future trade, and it may not just be on him. I think right now they're just focused on Bilal because you can see what's happening with Johnny. Yeah. It looks like they just couldn't care. They couldn't care less about Johnny's development. So if they didn't draft you, now it looks like they do care about Denny because they gave him a contract. But other than that, it looks like, right now their goals are really to focus. And right now, I think that's their goal with Kuz. You can say the same thing with Kuz. And Kuz is playing well. And I think his trade value is starting to go up. I mean, you can't deny it. When he's putting up, 25 to 30 against the Raptors, he had who else did he have 30 against? He's had some really good games so far this season. So I think his value is going up. I think even before the season started, I think I would have my bet is that you can get a first for Kuz. It may be a late first, it might not be a lottery pick, but I think you can get a solid first round pick for Kyle Kuz. But right now, Jordan Poole is probably going to be a bunch of it might even be on the Rui level type of trade where you get 5 second-round picks and a mid-tier guy like a Kendrick Nunn. I think that's kind of what you're looking at. If Jordan Poole keeps playing like this, that's the best-case scenario. And honestly, we were all excited when we traded him for Chris Paul, who's 40 years old. But right now it's kind of looking like nobody really won the trade other than moving off of Bill, which is the best part for this team. But right now, Jordan Poole, it's looking like it's going to take some time to get his value up. And if he's going to play like this and Wes is going to bench him, you're not going to get much value for him. So the article is concerning a little bit. It's the truth, but it's a little concerning as far as the trade value. But I'm still going to stay optimistic with Jordan Poole that he can bounce back and get it together and at least, get better on the shot selection, get some shots to drop. Some of the shots are wide open. He's just not hitting them. But right now, it's a bumpy start. We know the talent's there, so I can't really disagree with the article at all.
No, I mean, excuse me. There's a couple of main points I'm looking at, man. Is one, if you can't trust what's on sale to be that guy, then what are we talking about? You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I'm going. If you can't trust him to be that guy to get him right, then what do we, you know what I mean? Then he may not be the head coach. your head coach needs to be that guy. You know, you run the locker room, man. We need to bring in a guy who has that playoff championship experience, but who's a hardliner. You know, the guy's going to hold people accountable. And like I said, I like West, man, but he may not be a head coach, man. I mean, that's why I was real surprised that they enacted that fourth-year option. But getting back to Poole, look, if he doesn't want to be in D.C., okay, fair enough. If I'm the front office, I'm saying, look, do what you got to do, play your cards right, boost your value up, and we'll move you. Because you best believe going to this next draft, man, if we're really serious about building through the draft, flip him and Kuz for a lottery pick. Boom. And you go into this draft with a couple of lottery picks. I mean, you got to, because if he doesn't want to be here, then say that's what I would do, man. Because his actions kind of tell me that he may not want to be here. You know, you go from a situation to Golden State to Washington, where it's, you know, you're in the middle of a rebuild. He may not want to be here. So look, you want to be here, cool. If not, you do what you got to do. You know, play your cards right, boost your value, and then we'll flip you. So, yeah, it's crazy what 10 games kind of does for you, right? Like, because we were ready for him to be the guy. And like I said, with that phone call to Bilal, we're like, man, you know, maybe, you know, he can be that leader, but he's got to figure it out, man. He's got to grow up a little bit. So,
yeah, it's tough because Steve Kerr struggled to do it. You know, Steve Kerr struggled to get him to lock in it sometimes and you know, take better shots. So I think he just kind of is who he is. You know, I think the best role for him maybe is being a Nick Young or being a Jordan Clarkson, 6-man, Jamal Crawford. I think that might just be who he is and what his ceiling is. So, but yeah, we're gonna hop into this Mavericks preview. But before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked out for us on this week's eBay Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Pick of the Week. Of course, he has our guy, Bilal Coulibaly. His explanation is Wizards rotations continue to be all over the place, which is very true. But Bilal has played 30-plus minutes in the last 2 games, and he is in their future a massive defensive option. Yes, he did have 10 points last night. He had 20 points the other night against the Nets and hit 4 threes. So, yes, I definitely agree with that pick by Josh Lloyd saying Bilal Coulibaly. Another sleeper is Skylar Mays. He should be starting for at least the rest of this week. And his value is great for fantasy teams until at least Malcolm Brogdon returns. I think it's a good pick too. And Keontae George, I like him a lot. The Jazz's new starting point guard, and he tallied 20 assists in his first 2 starts. It may be rocky, but he is worth grabbing. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. If you have a personal experience about buying a part for your car from eBay, make sure you guys check it out. All right. So, and also make sure you guys check out the Lost National YouTube channel as well. All right. So the Wizards play the Dallas Mavericks tomorrow night. Brandon, what are some things you're looking for? We don't really see keys to victory anymore. But what are some things you're looking for? Just looking at some of the stats for the Mavericks, they're pretty darn awful defensively, just like the Wizards are. NBA team opponents points in the paint per game. The Wizards are ranked 29th. Dallas is ranked 27th. Dallas is giving up 56 points in the paint per game. The Wizards are giving up 58. Also, if you look at defensive rating, the Wizards are 26th with defensive rating, and the Mavericks are 24th. So they're both bottom 10 in the league. Now Dallas offensively, they're first in NBA team 3-point percentage, shooting 40%. They got a bunch of shooters, and then they got Luka, who creates a lot of open shots for teammates. The Wizards are 15th in 3-point percentage with 35%, which is actually not bad. But what are your thoughts on playing against the developmental keys and just ways you would attack the Dallas Mavericks?
One, man, I think this is a game where I want to see Gaff kind of step up, you know, and see how he matches up against Derek Lively Jr., man. I think it's a favorable matchup. I think he can kind of roll him similar builds, similar play styles. Man, perimeter defense is going to be something, man. I mean, like you said, this team can shoot. We know what Luke can do. Kyrie's going to shoot a lot. You know, you look at their bench, you know, Seth Curry, you know, Tim Hardaway is a shooter. So definitely you got to prioritize perimeter defense. I mean, really defense overall, because we're just hurt on defense overall, man. But I definitely looking at going back to Gaff, I definitely think this is a rebounding opportunity for him. But this defense period, man. And finally, effort, man. Effort. There's been a lot said about effort. Well, what does it mean to be in a rebuild? What is culture? Culture to me is you got to play right. Look, you play right, you put the effort out there and you still get blown out. At least you put that effort out there. That's culture. Not trying and throwing the white flag in the fourth, man, early on. I don't want to see that. I want to see them actually try to beat the Dallas Mavericks, man. So
definitely, I'm with you on the Gafford point. I think this should be a good matchup for him with Derek Lively. Of course, defending the 3-point line. You brought that up too. They're the best 3-point shooting team in the league. Grant Williams has been knocking down threes. Tim Hardaway Jr. He's been knocking down threes, and Kyrie Irving has been knocking down threes as well. So they got shooters across the board. Luka can shoot the three as well. He can find open shooters. He's going to find guys open all the time. Derrick Jones Jr. is super athletic too. They got him. They got Josh Green coming off the bench. Jaden Hardy is a good shooter too, good sixth man. Dwight Powell's athletic. So they have a solid roster this year. I kind of like their personnel a little bit. Now inside, of course, they don't have any guys that can stop guys getting to the rim. Really, Kyrie's not a good defender. Luka's not the best defender in the world either. And Grant Williams is a good 3-and-D player. But Derek Lively, he's a rookie, and I think they should certainly attack him. I think this is a game where Kuz can go off and get 25 to 30 points a game. I think this can actually be a really good bounce-back game for Jordan Poole because, I think Kyrie's going to be matched up and guarding him, and Kyrie's a smaller guard. So I think Jordan Poole can actually, get to the basket. I think this is a game where Jordan Poole should focus on really getting to the rim and getting the best of Kyrie defensively. Kyrie is an awesome offensive player, but defensively, I think Jordan Poole certainly can put up some points on Kyrie for sure. But yeah, this is a game where it might get into the 120s, might be like 100. Yeah. They just played the Pelicans and it was like 124 to 136. So I think it could be something similar to that. I think Corey Kispert coming off the bench is going to be huge, knocking down some threes. Bilal once again, how are they going to use him? Luka's a tough matchup. You're not going to stop Luka. You're not really going to slow him down either. Yeah. But maybe you want to put Bilal on him, just a couple of plays, just to give him some different looks. Wes Unseld Jr. should try something different than putting Tyus and Jordan Poole on him. I don't think he'll do that, but or you're going to throw Kuz, and of course you're going to put Denny on him too. Just throw 6'9" guys at him. You're going to have to throw Kuz at him. Bilal, Denny, all those guys should definitely be on him at all times, just wreaking havoc, trying to just make it tough on Luka. Of course, Luka's going to get his 25, 10 points, 10 boards, 10 assists, but just make it tough for him. That's all I'm asking from Wes, to just do something different. And Kyrie's going to get his. So it's really pick your poison. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a very close game. I do think, I don't think they're going to be victorious, but I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's a high scoring game, but I think it's going to be a game where we can see some developmental moments for sure. And I think it's going to be a positive game. I think it's going to be a positive game where you're going to see some strides from some of the young guys too. And I think this is a game where you might want to give Johnny at least 5 to 10 minutes too.
I was just about to say that, man. I think this is the perfect opportunity to see what Johnny Davis can do. Give him some minutes. Give him 15 minutes. That's all we ask for. Give Johnny 15 minutes. You know what I mean? But it's going to be a high score game. It's going to be a shootout. Defense is going to definitely stay at home because I think we kind of match up similar. So especially our backcourts are not defensive backcourts, but more offensive backcourts. So it's gonna be interesting. I think this battle is gonna be won on the bench and in the paint. I think if there's any chance that we win this game, it's gonna be with rebounding and defending the paint. Force them to shoot. Like we know they can shoot, but force them to shoot. Let that be their only option. Push them out of the paint. And then look at their bench; they have shooters, but they're not really defensively inclined either. So I definitely want to see Bilal. I want to see Corey Kispert kind of eat on the second unit. So yeah, I'm not going to do a prediction, man. I'm not. I'm just I just want to see the young guys play good. So
yeah, I didn't want. I slipped up into the prediction. I didn't really want to do one. They have Seth Curry's on the roster too. He usually cooks the Wizards. Yeah, I'm trying to see their last name. Just look at the stats, how they play. But they're 8-2. I didn't even know they were winning that many games.
They're rolling right now.
Yeah, they're playing the Pelicans again because it's crazy because they didn't even make the play-in last year. Kyrie had 35, so he's on a heater. He had 35 against the Pelicans last night. Just looking at the stats, Luka had 30. He hit 4 threes. Kyrie hit 7 threes. Derrick Jones hit 2 threes. And then off the bench, they had Tim Hardaway Jr. He hit 3 threes. Josh Green hit 3 threes. So this is a game where they hit 23s last night, which is ridiculous. They shot 53 threes. That's a lot of threes. That's an insane amount of threes. So yeah, they're gonna shoot a barrage of threes. They're gonna get a bunch of threes up, and they probably will hit 20 again. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, man. Apparently, Luka don't care about no flat Earth, man. He rolling. He don't care if the moon's made out of cheese. He's rolling with Kyrie. I mean, they're looking good, man. I mean, like I said, when I looked at their depth chart before we got on, man, I was like 8-2 because I didn't, obviously I'm looking more at the Eastern Conference covering the Wizards, man. But they're looking good. But I think that the bench again are just shooters, man. I think I really would attack the bench, and I think Gaff could eat, man. I think that Gaff can definitely match up well against Derek Lively. So I think I don't know. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say I think it's a winnable game. I'm just like I said. I want to see Johnny get those minutes, and I think Bilal's gonna continue to get better. So
you're right. There's some breaking news here. Pat Baldwin Jr. and Ryan Rollins have been assigned to the Capital City Go-Go for the Go-Go's home game Wednesday morning against the Delaware Blue Coats. A few hours after Baldwin and Rollins will be with the Washington Wizards for Wednesday night's game against the Mavericks. So we'll see those guys on the Go-Go tomorrow morning. But lastly, we're going to talk about Jordan Poole and Tyus Jones, their backcourt. Just some stats and Bob Bilal. But before we do that, we had a quick word from Brandon.
Yes, sir. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Ibotta. How does free Thanksgiving sound? Well, this year, Ibotta is here to give you cash back and help make sure your Thanksgiving table is complete. Because who wants turkey without gravy? I don't. Turkey is great, but we all know the best part of Thanksgiving is the sides, baby. With Ibotta, you can make sure you get the whole family's favorite side dishes and the turkey, all while getting yourself cash back. Big holidays mean big family get-togethers. But you don't have to spend all that money on Thanksgiving spread without getting something in return, right? With Ibotta, you can get your turkey and all your favorite sides for free. So starting November 1st for the 4th year in a row, Ibotta's giving 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving feast. Just add offers in the app to redeem for everything you need to make your Thanksgiving feast complete. All you have to do is shop at your favorite retailer and upload your receipt. That's all you got to do. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care items to pantry goods. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing, because I'm hurting from inflation, so I know everybody else is for sure. So download the Ibotta app now and use code LOCKED to get 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving dinner starting November 1st. Just go to App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use code LOCKED. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKED. And Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for your 24/7 covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league out there. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel.
Yes, sir. So I just want to read some stats that I saw. This was from Young Wizzy DFS on Twitter. I want to give him credit for finding this. He says, in 211 minutes with Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole on the court, the Wizards' offense rating is 103.26. The defense rating is 129.6. Their net rating is minus 26.34. Now in 155 minutes with Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole being off the court, the offensive rating goes up to 119.88. The defense rating goes down to a 98.25. The net rating goes up to a 21.64. So basically, numbers and stats don't lie. I do like to look at numbers, and it just shows you that, honestly, the Jordan Poole and Tyus Jones backcourt just has not worked out. I mean, we kind of could see this coming before the season started. They're both smaller guards. They're both, lean guys. They're not great defenders. Yes, they can shoot the three. They can score at times, but defensively, they just get targeted, and they just been cooked recently. They just haven't, they haven't. I know it's only 10 games, so it takes time to get chemistry together. And then also Wes Unseld Jr. not playing Gafford, having Tyus Jones in there, and at times DeLon Wright has looked a little bit more effective than Tyus Jones at some points. So, what are your thoughts on the backcourt so far, and would you make any changes to the starting lineup going forward?
Ooh, good question, E. The backcourt is what they're advertised to be. Tyus is more of the guy who's looking to pass the ball, distribute the ball. Offensive wise, if you can get 10, maybe 15, that's a good night for him. But most often, you look for him to be that floor general, that distributor. Jordan Poole, has very high offensive upside, but tends to have lapses where he shoots a lot of low percentage shots. So it's just not a good recipe, man. Because if you got a distributor, you need a guy who can shoot. And look, we all know that Jordan Poole can shoot and score, but just finding those high percentage shots, man, taking better looks. So, like you said, 10 games, is it a big enough sample size? We'll see. But I mean, look at the Tyus, man. If you look at turnover ratio, it was him and Monte, 1 and 2, I believe, from last year, man. And Monte was what he was. He did the job, but he wasn't anything flashy. He came in and did his job. And it's starting to look like Tyus is that guy. He's coming in. He's going to give you quality minutes at point guard, but is he necessarily the future at point guard? I don't think so. I think that he's probably got enough value there. We're definitely going to get some assets back for him. I'm not saying we're going to get a first, but we could definitely get something back for him at the deadline. But going forward, I think the best bet with what we have, man, is Jordan Poole at the point. I would definitely – not saying to make that move now, because obviously we're still getting trade value up for Tyus, DeLon, even though DeLon is hurt. But at the deadline, I'm definitely sliding Jordan Poole at starting point guard. And I'm putting Bilal or Corey Kispert at the 2. And I'm going from there. And then maybe you could do both, depending on the matchup. But I definitely think, I mean, and it's kind of taking Johnny Davis out of the equation, but I mean, he's already catching DMPs. I don't know really what, what his outlook is, but yeah, that's the change I'm making after the deadline. I think Jordan Poole is the guy that we need to slide into starting point guard just because of pace. Now he's going to push the pace, so, and it's going to be intriguing who they put, because if they put Bilal 2 and you got Denny at the 3, I mean, I think that's a really good lineup. And a lot of people I've seen on Wizards Twitter and in media looking at the lineup, they've been putting Bilal to 2. That's a defensive lineup. And that's actually a really intriguing lineup, man. Put Bilal to 2 and obviously Denny to 3, Kuz at the 4, and Gaff at the 5. So, but that would be my lineup after the deadline.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too, Bilal. And he's shooting the ball very well too, which helps with spacing. That was my biggest concern coming in. Can he knock down the 3, or guys are even going to step out there and defend him? Guys have to go out there and defend him. They really have to step out there on the 3-point shot, because he's been knocking it down. He's made at least 1 3 each game, and he hit 4 threes in one game as well. Averaging 8 points, 1 assist, 3 boards. Bilal shooting 43% from the 3 right now. But yeah, the backcourt is just not working. We saw it coming up, but I did want Tyus to start because, he's more of a guy that is just going to calm the team down and kind of calm Jordan Poole down, but it just, hasn't worked out. Just because, Tyus just doesn't turn the ball over. You brought up how Tyus just, assist to turnover ratio. Same thing with DeLon Wright, kind of same thing with Monte Morris. He's a steady Eddie guy, the floater going, he can shoot a 3, but defensively, yeah, those guys have been targeted. Tyus had a bad game, and the funny thing is, Monte Morris tweeted out saying that he never put up a stat line out there like that. So I thought that was pretty interesting that Monte Morris felt the need to go out there and tweet that out. But Monte Morris is not like he lit the world on fire either, honestly. So
right,
I thought it was weird that Monte tweeted that out. But then again, we remember Monte tweeted out that popcorn emoji when he was in trade rumors. So. But, yeah, also looking at the stats for Bilal, he's played 30% of the shooting guard position, 68% at small forward, 2% at power forward. So, yeah, he's played a good amount at shooting guard, mostly small forward. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind him seeing next to Jordan Poole, because that would help Jordan out defensively for sure. And you get a guy that can run a transition like Bilal. So, clearly the backcourt's not working. We just need, Tyus to – I don't think his value will go up any more than what it is. So, at the trade deadline, you probably move him. Probably keep Jordan Poole, because you're not going to get anything for Jordan Poole at this point at the trade deadline in February. Nah. So you keep him this year. Maybe in the offseason you might get a deal or something like that. Maybe next season before the trade deadline in 2025 or 2026. 2025. So in 2025, maybe you get something like that. Maybe you get maybe if Jordan Poole plays better, maybe you can get a first or a late round first or a future first for Jordan Poole if you can get his value back up. So going to take a lot of work to do that, but yeah, clearly the Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole backcourt's not working. But I think Wes is a guy that doesn't really like to change the lineup. The only time he likes to change the lineup is when he takes Denny out. Other than that, he doesn't bench any starters, because last year he didn't bench Monte really. Other than that, he kept it the same way. The only starting change I can remember that he made was really just taking Denny out. Then he put Gaff and Porzingis in. So with Wes, you're not going to see any lineup changes.
Yeah, but that's the problem.
Yeah, no, I know.
You've got to be able to mismatch and really game plan. Like just going with one lineup and just going and rolling with it is just, I don't understand that, man. It's just not coaching, in my opinion. You've got to be able to evolve. You know, we have enough guys on this team who can play multiple positions where you don't have to have a stagnant lineup. You know what I mean? So to me, that's part of the problem, but that's a whole nother episode. You know, look at the Jordan Poole, man. I mean, you saw how Winger and company were very transparent with Bradley Beal. Had that conversation with Jordan Poole, man. Do you want to be here? And if so, these are the expectations. I will lay it out for him. These are the expectations we have. You know, if not, it behooves you to mature a little bit, play the way you need to play, boost your value up. And if you want to go somewhere, do yourself a favor, boost your value up, and then we'll flip you. But, you know, we got to establish this culture, man. We can't, you know, have people playing games and all this, you know, nah. Either you want to come in and get this culture right or get his value up and flip them. That's where I'm at. Because to me, the most important thing about the rebuild is establishing that culture. You want people to come in with that right mindset, man, where you coming in ready to work. You know, no playing around. You trying to be fancy, you get blown out. Now that's sending the wrong message to these young guys, man. Because, you know, look, you're a leader. What's Bilal looking at? You know, you got to instill that culture. And that's the pivotal part right now because it's year one. So that's where I'm at with Poole, man. I like Poole. Young brother, man, with a lot of upside, man. I want to see him succeed. And I prefer he succeed in DC, but he's got to mature. He's got to mature. And it behooves him a lot, just as much as it behooves us. You know, for him to have longevity in this league and people to take him serious, especially as a leader, he's got to step it up, man. So that's what I'm looking for from Poole.
100%. So we're going to be on tomorrow night around 10 o'clock. Going live once again. So you guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you guys are on your best behavior. We will try our best to respond to every comment that we see in the live chat. It definitely was getting interesting for sure the last time we went live last night. So it should be a lot of fun after the Mavericks game. So make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys make Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Hit that notification bell. Hell to the Wizards. Peace.